Chapter 201. The demon beauty tree was bound by law chains, and the runes transforming into a black hole enveloped its entire body. The black hole runes and the chains continuously intertwined, dragging the main root of the demon beauty tree into the black hole. Once pulled in, it would be utterly shredded. What is this? Seeing the demon beauty tree's roots locked down, Chen Baojiao spoke with emotion. The demon blood was refined. This is no longer demon blood, but law itself. Niufen saw the trick within, and said emotionally. The entire Dao platform was designed to capture it. Qiye watched the chains dragging the main root of the demon beauty tree into the black hole, and said with a smile. Did you truly think that this place left behind ancestor blood for you to nourish your body? Too bad, you're still not smart enough. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, all the demon beauty tree's roots struggled, thrashing madly, trying to break free from the law chains. But no matter how crazily it thrashed, it could not escape the law chains. This was the scheme left behind by Immortal Emperor Shuepai, Qiye Tai, in the past. Later reinforced by Immortal Emperor Ming Ren. Once locked down, the demon beauty tree only had death awaiting it. When killing the demon beauty tree back then, Qiye, as the Dark Crow, knew that as long as a clump of roots remained underground, the demon beauty tree would have a chance to revive. Therefore, Immortal Emperor Shuepai later left behind the specially prepared demon blood to execute the demon beauty tree. They fused blood with law. Consequently, deep within this Dao platform was the most attractive thing to lure the demon beauty tree, ancestor blood, which was what it craved the most. So over millennia, as long as roots underground revived, they could not suppress their craving for the ancestor blood, and would inevitably approach the demon blood, wanting to absorb it to strengthen themselves. Once they got close to the demon blood, they would be locked down. In fact, over the past 100,000 years, quite a few tiny roots had revived. But ultimately, some roots could not resist the lure of the demon blood, and could grow, finally developing into this main root, which possessed a soul and even managed to evade the temptation of the ancestor blood. At this time, Qiye released all the demon blood. This demon beauty tree also could not withstand the attraction of the ancestor blood. Once it absorbed it, it was no different from a fish taking the bait. Pop. At this time, the root was being pushed into the black hole. Once sucked in by the black hole, it would be devoured, torn into shreds. Screech. 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 The demon beauty tree struggled incessantly, desperately trying to break free from the law chains. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, the demon beauty tree's roots stabbed into the ground, trying to take root deeply to prevent being sucked into the black hole. But it was all in vain. Even if the ground was ripped apart, turning the earth into fragments, it still could not escape the black hole's devouring. It's useless. With the blessings of 2 immortal emperors, unless you were as powerful as you were back then, you can't achieve anything. Qiye looked at the demon beauty tree's root struggling in its death throes, and said with a smile. Hiss. The eyes on the demon beauty tree's root turned cold. The roots did not give up resisting, transforming into countless arrows that rapidly shot toward Qiye. At this time, the demon beauty tree believed that Qiye controlled the Dao platform, and sought to kill Qiye to escape confinement. Pierce, pierce, pierce. But as these roots tried to kill Qiye, the black hole suddenly transformed into a giant mouth, instantly devouring the roots completely. Trying to kill me? Qiye could not help but laugh, saying, You're still too young. Compared to my methods, you are no match. Boom. A loud sound rang out. The demon beauty tree's root saw itself being slowly devoured. At this moment, it slowed down, and its desperate efforts weakened. The main root tore through the earth, instantly plunging deep into the ground. It incessantly tore at the ground to resist the suction force. Pop. At this time, an unparalleled force appeared. This force pulled the roots back. Boom. After receiving assistance from this force, the captured demon beauty tree briefly stabilized itself. It pulled the Dao platform backward. As the Dao platform was pulled, it instantly brightened. Boom, boom, boom. In a short time, the heavens and earth brightened. The demon Piri tree frantically retracted its roots, trying to drag the Tao platform towards itself. What is happening? Seeing the demon Piri tree suddenly reverse the situation, Li Xuangan and Qin Baojiao's expressions changed in panic. Once the demon Piri tree broke free from the Tao platform, they would surely die. There's a reason the demon Piri tree sucked that thing. Li Qiye remained calm and composed, speaking with a leisurely smile. Under the ground to the east lies a demonic vein. The demonic vein contains a demon spring, and the water from the demon spring is extremely valuable too. The demon Piri tree. If it could use it to nourish its origin and temper its body, one day it could rival the gods. OM. In an instant, the black hole doubled in size. The sound of clang, clang, clang echoed as the chains struck one another. The law chains on the demon Piri tree's body contracted even tighter, squeezing the demon Piri tree more firmly, and with greater force, dragging the demon Piri tree into the black hole. Boom, boom, boom. The ground was overturned. This sight was like a celestial ox plowing through the world, turning up countless clods of soil. In a short while, the ground was completely churned up. Even though the demon Piri tree had rooted itself into the demonic vein, it was useless. It still could not prevent itself from being dragged into the black hole. At this time, a section of the root was being shredded by the black hole. Crack, crack, crack. But at this moment, something even more terrifying occurred. The demon Piri tree's bone spur absorbed the demonic energy in the sky and shot towards the mountain-like piles of bones nearby. Almost all the demonic energy was sucked into its body. At this time, the bones seemed to connect with one another. Whether they were the skeletons of humans, celestial beasts, or stone people, they all stuck together, patching themselves into a giant tree. This giant skeletal tree appeared before Li Qiye's group. This great tree was like a giant, and its massive body lashed out towards the Tao platform. Oomph! The skeletal great tree struck the Tao platform. The entire Tao platform shook, but the black hole grew even stronger, expanding wider, pulling the demon Piri tree into the black hole. Boom, boom, boom. The great tree was now grappling with the Tao platform, attempting to smash it into pieces. Damn it, this ghostly thing has gained sentience. Within the sheltered area, Niufan's group's expressions changed. Chen Baojiao and Li Xuangan, watching this frantic scene, were horrified. Boom, boom, boom. This demon Piri tree was not only terrifying but also full of schemes. At this time, the bone spur on the main root was seen stabbing into the ground. A bone spur 10,000 zhang long, thick and terrifying, transformed into a giant axe. The bone spur, carrying the momentum to destroy the heavens and annihilate the earth, smashed into the Tao platform. Boom. The Tao platform was struck by the terrifying bone spur turned axe. It instantly shook without end, and the black hole was also impacted. Boom, boom, boom. The bone spur and the skeletal great tree relentlessly struck the Tao platform. Not only was it smashing the Tao platform, but it seemed intent on pulverizing it entirely. Under the continuous attacks of the bone spur and the great tree, the black hole temporarily weakened. This allowed the demon Piri tree to catch a breath. In a short time, the bone spur and the great tree began striking the Tao platform even faster. The Tao platform might not hold. We must flee quickly. If this ghostly thing escapes confinement, it will be the end of us. Niufan's face changed as he looked at Li Qiye and shouted. Just a simple breakfast. Li Qiye remained calm, looking at the demon Piri tree with its towering demonic energy, and said with a smile. Originally, I didn't plan on chasing after you to kill you completely, but since you don't know your place, I shall grant your wish. Finishing his words, Li Qiye formed hand seals, stomped heavily on the ground, and let out a long shout. His vital essence surged into the sky, and he spoke the true words. By my will, open the Shui Pai Emperor Gate, execute the demon extermination formation. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, an unbelievable phenomenon occurred. the entire heaven and earth of Demon Back Ridge were illuminated by a bloody light. A massive gate appeared in the sky. As the gate opened, terrifying Emperor's might descended. At this time, light rays intertwined, stars manifested in the sky, the heavens and earth rotated, and a colossal formation appeared in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In a short while, streaks of bloody light shot into the sky. At this moment, they were like celestial spears descending, slaying the demon and cutting down everything. Crack, smash, shatter. The blood spears struck down, shattering the long, narrow-boned spurs and piercing countless skeletons. Under the blood spears, whether bone, spur or skeleton, everything was pierced through, unable to withstand the might of these blood spears. Let alone the demon Pity Tree, all the celestial beasts and longevity spirits in the Demon Back Ridge trembled as they felt the immortal Emperor's might. At this moment, even million-year-old celestial beasts and longevity spirits hid in their caves, daring not to emerge. My heavens, that mark in the sky is a slaughter formation. Even Niu Fun, a powerful expert, felt his legs go weak upon seeing the Emperor Gate open, the great formation manifest, and the blood spears striking down. He exclaimed in a choked voice. This is an immortal Emperor-level great formation. This, anyone who encounters it will die. There was no need to speak for Chen Baojiao and the old servant. They watched the incredible scene before them. These blood spears striking down were truly slaying gods upon meeting them, and executing demons upon encountering them. After a long time, Chen Baojiao recovered her senses. She looked at Qiye, and her expression changed as she said, You had this method prepared all along, didn't you? The peerlessly beautiful maiden, though her face was pale with shock at this moment, was still charming and captivating. At this time, Chen Baojiao and the old servant were deeply shaken. At this moment, they understood one thing. In reality, Qiye had possessed the means to win from the very beginning. Perhaps from the start, Qiye had the intention of exterminating all the sects and rogue cultivators who entered Demon Back Ridge. At this time, Chen Baojiao and the old servant finally understood. Whether it was the ancient kingdom of Qin Xian or the Holy Heaven sect, no matter who the enemy was. It was no wonder he wasn't afraid of people like Heavenly Son Qin Xian, and even declared hostility to the world. Everything was fundamentally within his calculations. He deliberately spread the rumor that the Holy Heaven sect wanted to seize the so-called treasures of the gods. In the end, too many people died here, with only a handful escaping. At this moment, even the old servant, despite having experienced many storms, had cold sweat pouring down his palms. At this time, he secretly considered himself lucky that they were not Qiye's enemies, otherwise, no matter how strong he was, he would surely die. As for Chen Baojiao, Qiye simply glanced at her and said, Demon Back Ridge is the private property of our cleansing incense ancient sect. As the chief disciple, knowing these methods is nothing. Of course, this great formation had nothing to do with Immortal Emperor Ming Ren. It was set up by Immortal Emperor Xue Pai. When they came here that year, they originally intended to ambush and kill the Demon Pity Tree. At that time, they planned to eliminate the Demon Pity Tree in one fell swoop, and even inscribed a peerless great formation onto the sky. It could be said that they had set up a heaven and earth net. Unfortunately, before they could make a move, the 6 Dao Lotus, Lu Dao Lian, had already attacked the Demon Pity Tree, rendering the heaven and earth net they set up and used. The great formation to ambush and kill the Demon Pity Tree that year was presided over by the Dark Crow, Qiye. Since it was not used, Qiye kept it as a preparation for the future, hoping that one day it could be used. Today, Qiye formed the formation seal with his hands, and spoke the true words to open this great formation, opening the Emperor Gate, and the blood spears descended to exterminate the demonic creature. Screech. At this time, the Demon Pity Tree let out a tragic scream. Its body was pierced by the blood spears, and as for its roots, they were further hacked apart by the blood spears. Snap. At this time, the Demon Pity Tree's main root shattered. A thumb-sized ancient root flew high up from within the main root. This ancient root attempted to escape, immediately fleeing far away. What is that? Seeing the fleeing ancient root, Li Xuangan asked with surprise. The water root, Shuagin. Li Qiye smiled, watching the ancient root flee at great speed, and said, the entire unborn demon pity tree has matured, so it could only sprout such a small water root. Aren't you going to chase it down? Niufun was also worried. If the water root could grow into a demon pity tree, if it escaped, the consequences were unimaginable. This would be a great disaster. It doesn't understand this world, and it doesn't understand this piece of heaven and earth. Li Qiye said with a smile. As they spoke, this small, thumb-sized water root wanted to flee far away. Just as the water root flew towards the east, the sweet osmanthus lotus tree, Gui Lianshu, to the south let out an om sound. Suddenly, a green branch shot up. The young branch was like the body of a sword, instantly piercing the sky. It seemed capable of severing reincarnation and exterminating the 6 paths. A mere young branch. But at this moment, even deities would tremble. The young branch struck down like a divine sword. I said it doesn't understand this world, it doesn't understand that within this piece of heaven and earth, the demon pity tree is not allowed to grow, and trying to escape here is impossible. Seeing this scene, Li Qiye said with delight. Chen Baojiao and the old servant did not know where this young branch came from, but seeing the young branch cleave the sky, they were utterly terrified. This branch was even more fearsome than a divine sword. With one strike of the young branch, whether it was a true person or an ancient saint, there would only be death. Li Xuangan and Niufun knew where this branch came from, and they also gasped. No wonder Li Qiye said the sweet osmanthus lotus tree could rival the gods. This was a terrifying truth. If a young branch was this scary, there was no need to speak of the entire mountain-sized sweet osmanthus lotus tree. The sweet osmanthus lotus tree was originally derived from the 6th lotus that year. The 6th lotus was damaged in its battle with the demon pity tree, and its water root was destroyed. It could be said to have been near death. Later, Li Qiye and Immortal Emperor Xuepai grafted the 6th lotus onto the sweet osmanthus tree, using world-defying methods to keep the 6th lotus alive, but from then on, it was no longer the 6th lotus. The 6th lotus and the demon pity tree were mortal enemies. If a root of the demon pity tree escaped into its domain, it would be slain by the sweet osmanthus lotus tree. Boom, boom, boom. Now, the bone spur and the white skeletal great tree collapsed, thoroughly destroyed under the striking blood spears. Screech. Finally, almost all the demonic roots were pushed into the black hole, entirely shredded. The main root was also dragged into the black hole, screaming tragically and dying. As Chen Baojiao's group was stunned, the Dao platform retracted the black hole, swallowing the demon blood. The supreme immortal gate high in the sky closed, and the great formation also dissipated. In a short time, the sky was bright and clear, as if nothing had happened just moments ago. As the Dao platform sank into the ground, if there were still demonic roots underground, it would wait for them to appear again over the countless years to come. Li Qiye leaped onto the ground, rode on Niufun's back, patted Niufun's shell, and said with a smile, finally, the work is finished. This trip was very smooth, and I have completed my mission. Li Xuangan was used to Li Qiye's peculiarity. No matter what world-shaking thing Li Qiye did, she would not be surprised. As for Chen Baojiao and the old servant, they were silent. What had just happened felt like a dream to them. Tens of thousands of powerful experts, including marquis, true persons, and even ancient saints, were annihilated. The geniuses of the ancient kingdom of Qingshan and the Holy Heaven sect all failed to escape death. This incident would shock anyone. No one could resist. The demon pity tree. Yet, it was just a thing in his hands, something he calculated. No matter how powerful the demon pity tree was, it was not worth mentioning. It was too easy to crush. Looking at this young man of about 15 or 16 years old now, let alone Chen Baojiao, even the old servant who had experienced many storms had to look at him with new eyes. In the future, even if he were to be beaten to death, he would not want to be this boy's enemy. The young man of 15 or 16 years old before them was too peculiar, profoundly strange. As for Chen Baojiao, She was also silent. At this moment, she finally understood why Li Xuangan chose to follow this young man. Li Xuangan was one of the most promising geniuses in the central region. Not only did she possess talent that others could hardly match, but she also had peerless beauty, a maiden as beautiful as jade. Countless people pursued Li Xuangan, and who knows how many. Outstanding talents came to the 9 Holy Demon Gate to propose marriage, yet she chose to follow a young man with an ordinary physique and mortal fate. If others knew, they would definitely think Li Xuangan was crazy. In fact, Chen Baojiao felt it was unbelievable at first. This was truly the most incomprehensible thing. Li Xuangan, a high and mighty heaven's proud daughter who was the focus of thousands of favors, why was she willing to follow a seemingly ordinary boy with an ordinary physique and mortal fate? Now Chen Baojiao finally understood. Be it a genius or a heaven's proud daughter, standing before this young man, she was nothing. Good, the major task is done. It's time to collect the harvest. Li Qiye finally said. Li Qiye led Li Xuanyan's group back to the sweet osmanthus lotus tree. Chen Baojiao and the old servant were shocked when they saw the sweet osmanthus lotus tree and understood what had severed the demon beauty tree's water root. Good. Now you are free. Li Qiye announced to the disciples. You are now free to pick spirit herbs, but do not provoke the celestial beasts or longevity spirits. As long as you don't provoke them, they won't attack you. Remember, do not be too greedy. This is the private property of our cleansing incense ancient sect. Whether mining treasures or picking spirit herbs, take 3 and leave 1. Do not completely exhaust the resources. Hearing Li Qiye's words, the disciples rejoiced. Even Elder Gu was delighted, especially since he had previously used a heavenly mirror to watch the great battle at the demon beauty tree, an event that deeply shook him. Seeing Li Qiye casually talking about annihilating 10,000 powerful experts left them speechless. At this time, Elder Gu unanimously agreed that choosing Li Qiye to revive the sect was absolutely correct. After receiving Li Qiye's command, the disciples were excited. Elder Gu and others took the lead, guiding the disciples to mine precious metals and pick spirit herbs. Qiye, aren't you going to pick spirit herbs or mine for treasure? Seeing that Li Qiye had no intention of joining them, Gu Tiesho, Co-Thiat Thursday, asked. I have something I need to do. Li Qiye shook his head. He looked towards the north and said in a deep voice. I need to make a trip to the north. Seeing Li Qiye's demeanor, Gu Tiesho did not ask any further questions. Whatever Li Qiye wanted to do, as the Grand Elder, he would fully support him. Finally, Li Qiye left Gu Tiesho's group, took Li Xuangan, and rode the snail towards the north. But at this time, Chen Baojiao also followed, along with the Chen family's old servant. Seeing Chen Baojiao follow, Li Qiye glanced at her, but did not refuse. He then led them towards the north, straight into the deepest area of the north. After the great battle, the demon beauty tree's display of might, and the opening of the Emperor Gate, which intimidated all living creatures in Demon Back Ridge, Li Qiye's group encountered no celestial beasts or longevity spirits along the way. At this time, even million-year-old celestial beasts and longevity spirits were hiding in their caves, daring not to come out. Traveling north, Li Qiye's group picked quite a few spirit herbs. The harvest was astonishing, and even Chen Baojiao, who followed, was pleasantly surprised. Finally, Li Qiye's group stopped in the deepest area of the north. Even if they didn't want to stop, there was nowhere left to go, their path was blocked. In front, runes were flying and dancing, the runic light soaring to the sky, illuminating the heavens and also obscuring the world. The endless runes looked like water descending from the sky, and also like volcanic eruptions surging from the ground. The runes filled the sky, continuously rising and falling, flowing without end. Looking at them, they seemed chaotic, like a mere storm, without any obvious rules or discernible characters. Nevertheless, the runes here, flying and shifting, emitted a terrifying aura that would cause any living creature nearby to tremble and even worship. My heavens, this is Emperor's runes. An immortal emperor is suppressing this place. Among the group, Niu Fun, who knew his goods, changed color upon seeing the runes here, and muttered, This is an area suppressed by an immortal emperor. An immortal emperor personally acted, sealing the heavens, severing the six paths, and suppressing this heaven and earth. What exactly is being suppressed here by the immortal emperor? At this moment, Qiye's eyes were cold. He stared icily at the light screen before him. He had anticipated this long ago. But seeing the light screen, he still let out a cold snort. As Qiye observed the area, the hearts of Niufan and the others sank. They sensed Qiye's rage at this moment. Even the powerful Niufan felt his heart tremble upon sensing Qiye's fury. Qiye's anger made their hearts grow cold, giving them a feeling of blood flowing for 10,000 miles. At this moment, Qiye took out the Guqin, ancient zither. He looked at the sky-filling runes before him and finally strummed the strings. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the zither rose. OM. The Emperor's might enveloped the heavens and earth. As Qiye played, the Emperor's might swept across this region, covering the entire Demon Back Ridge. Such Emperor's might caused everyone in Demon Back Ridge to be terrified and tremble with fear. Gutiesho, Kothiat Thursday, raised his head to look towards the north. At this moment, Gutiesho knew that Qiye had made a move, and furthermore, Qiye was carrying the Patriarch's Guqin. Gutiesho's expression changed. For Qiye to be compelled to unleash the immortal emperor's will and emperor's might, the enemy must surely be immensely powerful. Clang. Finally, the immortal will that covered the heavens and earth converged into a celestial sword. The sword carried immortal light and blood, capable of slaying immortals and annihilating gods. With one strike across the sky, the heavens and earth dimmed, and the yin and yang of the myriad Tao fell silent. Kill. Now Qiye let out a shout. His fingers moved like a frantic storm, playing the most violent piece of music. Clang. One strike of the sword cleaved everything in the world. The single strike carried invincible emperor's might, descending with the most savage sword intent. Its aura proclaimed, I am invincible, no matter who the enemy is. The sword strike descended, instantly radiating a brilliant light, illuminating the entire Demon Back Ridge. The terrifying emperor's might swept across the four directions, dominating the world. At this moment, all the runes on the light screen before him gathered to form a scroll of emperor's scripture. The emperor's scripture floated in the air, transforming into the character Forgive, Xa. This character Forgive was the source of all transgressions, all deities avoided it. Boom. The explosion covered the entire Demon Back Ridge. Under this one strike, let alone Gutiesho's group, even all living creatures in Demon Back Ridge had to prostrate themselves. The immortal will contained within the runes and the immortal emperor's suppression formation continuously clashed, shattering the sky. Yin and yang turned into primal chaos. If not for the collision hitting the emperor formation, the entire Demon Back Ridge would have likely cracked apart. One invincible sword, one forgiveness spanning 10,000 generations. Under this one strike, everything else faded. Although this single sword strike severed the character Forgive, the endless runes continued to flow incessantly, and the runic light still surged towards the heavens like a volcanic eruption. Undoubtedly, this one sword strike did not cleave the great formation. The Guqin in Qiye's arms dimmed considerably. This single strike consumed an astonishing amount of the immortal will within it. If he continued, the Guqin would shatter like the strange gate blades, turning into a mortal object. A clash of two emperors. Niufan finally managed to stand up, muttering a single sentence. Let alone Chen Baojiao, even the old servant by her side had a pale face. Emperor's might was not something anyone could resist. Whether a true person or an ancient saint, if suppressed by emperor's might, death was certain. At the same time, Chen Baojiao and the old servant were utterly horrified. They never expected Qiye to carry an emperor item on him. A person carrying an emperor item, let alone a true person, even an ancient saint would flee to avoid death. No one would dare to provoke them, otherwise it would be courting death. Unless you also carried an emperor item or emperor artifact, or sought the help of a great sage. At this moment, Niufan and the others also looked at the wall of suppression. The runes were still continuous, and the runic light kept appearing. Although the runes no longer emitted an oppressive emperor's might, the emperor runes still rose and fell incessantly, still causing fear. Regardless of whether this was the suppression of a supreme immortal emperor, even the emperor runes originating from the hands of an immortal emperor could undoubtedly lead to their death. What kind of powerful entity was ultimately being personally suppressed by an immortal emperor? Thinking of this made Niufan and the others feel chills down their spines. Truly formidable. At this time, Qiye's eyes turned cold, and he slowly said, "Think carefully. Otherwise, the next time I come, I will destroy your emperor lineage." Qiye's words terrified Chen Baojiao and the old servant. Although Qiye spoke these words seemingly to himself, they understood he was speaking to the Great Suppression Formation. This was a threat to the immortal emperor's will left behind to suppress this place, a threat to the will of an immortal emperor. This kind of unrestrained arrogance and overbearingness was beyond measure. Threatening the will of an immortal emperor. There were probably very few who were this overbearing. In the eyes of others, Qiye might seem like a brazen young boy, but at this moment, neither Chen Baojiao nor the old servant believed Qiye was merely arrogant and ignorant. This was what terrified them. Their hearts were in turmoil. Threatening the will of an immortal emperor, such overbearingness had never been seen throughout the ages. Ultimately, Qiye did not linger. He jumped onto the snail and left, leaving the endless runes behind him. On the way, Qiye was silent, but Li Xuangan, his close follower, asked, not opening the emperor gate. Compared to outsiders, Li Xuangan understood Qiye better. She knew Qiye's methods were not limited to just this. Qiye retreating without success did not fit his personality, which was why she asked him. Qiye turned his head to look into the deepest area, and finally shook his head, saying, "This time, I did not come for slaughter. If I open the emperor gate and unleash all the killing intent, everything in the north will cease to exist." Hearing Qiye's words, Li Xuangan fell silent. In fact, deep down she also wanted to ask what was being suppressed in the north, or rather, who it was. But since Qiye said nothing, Li Xuangan did not ask. At this moment, Chen Baojiao and the old servant were also stunned. What exactly was suppressed in this northern area? Which immortal emperor ultimately took action? It was clear this was not immortal Emperor Ming Ren's doing. If it wasn't immortal Emperor Ming Ren, it meant a second immortal emperor came here. This speculation made their minds wander. The fact that two immortal emperors had visited this place meant it was extraordinary. Chen Baojiao now understood that Demon Back Ridge was not as simple as it looked. It was likely that in the past, it wasn't just a trial ground for the cleansing incense ancient sect. The south had the great tree. The north had the suppression, the east had the demonic entity. At this time, if Qiye had not brought her along, she would not have known that such a heaven-shaking secret was hidden behind Demon Back Ridge. When Qiye's group returned safely, Gutiesho, who had been waiting anxiously, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Qiye using an emperor item had frightened Gutiesho immensely, making him think Qiye had encountered a formidable enemy. Ultimately, the disciples of the cleansing incense ancient sect picked a large number of spirit herbs, mined quite a bit of precious metal, and some disciples even obtained true fate divine stones. The cleansing incense ancient sect returned from this trip with a great harvest. Seeing that the time for Demon Back Ridge to close was approaching, Qiye took charge of the overall situation, leading the many disciples to leave Demon Back Ridge. After stepping out of Demon Back Ridge, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, especially Chen Baojiao and the old servant. They felt as though they had just seen a better, new sun. Thinking back to this trip to Demon Back Ridge, the old servant's heart was greatly shaken. On this trip to Demon Back Ridge, all the sects and kingdoms had their powerful experts and geniuses completely wiped out. Besides the two of them, the only others to leave alive were from Zai Pass and the experts from Fox Demon Lake who quickly fled. As for the ancient kingdom of Qing Xian, the Holy Heaven sect, the Jiangzhou family, and the Southern Heaven Upper Kingdom, they were all annihilated, with even ancient saints meeting a tragic end. Thinking of this, the old servant secretly felt lucky. If they hadn't traveled with Qiye, they would have likely died tragically inside. Little girl, think carefully. I'll leave a spot for you by my side, but don't take too long. My patience is limited. Before parting, Qiye looked at Chen Baojiao and said a single sentence. Being called little girl by a young man younger than herself made Chen Baojiao quite angry. She glared at Qiye. This beauty who could topple kingdoms was captivating with every frown and smile. She was truly a ruinous beauty. As for the many disciples of the cleansing incense ancient sect, they sighed in admiration and envy. Only the senior disciple brother possessed such an imposing air. He already had Fairy Li by his side, yet he still wanted to take the peerless beauty, princess of the Jade Purity ancient kingdom. What was even more imposing was that with Fairy Li right beside him, he spoke such overbearing words with a nonchalant ease. He was truly unfathomably domineering, the idol in their minds. To casually bring two great beauties into his fold, what kind of domineering aura was that? Many disciples of the cleansing incense ancient sect continuously admired him. Finally, Chen Baojiao and her servant departed. Qiye led the disciples of the cleansing incense ancient sect back to the sect. Upon returning to the cleansing incense ancient sect, the sect was filled with joyous celebration. This trip to Demon Back Ridge was truly a great harvest, and the loss of disciples was minimal. Seeing the current harvest, the elders and protectors who did not participate in the trip were moved and overjoyed. Originally, the cleansing incense ancient sect no longer had the qualifications to enter Demon Back Ridge, but now they not only entered Demon Back Ridge but also achieved a great harvest. How could the high-level members of the cleansing incense ancient sect not be excited? After returning to the cleansing incense ancient sect, Qiye presided over a meeting regarding the trip to Demon Back Ridge. He invited Su Yonghuang to Hong to attend, showing respect to the sect master. Although Su Yonghuang was the sect master of the cleansing incense ancient sect, she spent most of her time on the border and generally did not participate in the sect's important meetings. Attending this meeting now also solidified her position within the cleansing incense ancient sect. Qiye originally wanted to invite Qiye, but Qiye was not interested in attending such a meeting. At the meeting, Qiye elaborated on the details of this trip to Demon Back Ridge. Hearing all the events that occurred upon entering Demon Back Ridge, the elders and protectors present were moved. It was truly unbelievable, and they were even dumbfounded after listening. At this time, the elders and protectors of the cleansing incense ancient sect exchanged glances. They all had to concede how wise it was to choose Qiye as the person to revive the sect. Su Yonghuang was also moved by these reports. Coming from the Su family, she understood the limitations of the cleansing incense ancient sect, but now, hearing Qiye's account, she secretly gasped, muttering, "I never thought Demon Back Ridge held such a heaven-shaking secret." As for Qiye, the first thing he did upon returning to the cleansing incense ancient sect was to find the wooden fish, a Buddhist percussion instrument, place the toad on the table, and murmur. Finally found it again. It's time to let it see the light of day. Having said that, Qiye slowly struck the wooden fish. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythmic sound rang out, slow and deliberate. The sound of the wooden fish was like a piece of music, containing an unspoken Taoist inscription. Tap, tap, tap. When the wooden fish sounded, the toad vibrated. Its vibrational rhythm was exactly the same as the wooden fish. OM. After an unknown period, a small sound appeared. The back of the toad lit up, and a rune appeared. On its back, a rune that had endured countless years, seemingly endless runes compressed over a long period of time. It finally returned. Seeing the rune appear, Qiye was delighted. His fate palace opened, and his true fate instantly inhaled, drawing all the runes into his mind. At this moment, almost all the runes drilled into Qiye's sea of consciousness, intertwining into a scripture. As the runes were engraved into Qiye's sea of consciousness, memories that had been erased surfaced within his sea of consciousness. The Supreme Medicine God Canon. This was the supreme pharmacological canon created by the founding ancestor of apothecaries. In truth, the world did not know that this medicine god canon was not written by the medicine god alone. In ancient times, this medicine god canon embodied the countless efforts of Qiye. In the desolate era, Qiye, as the Dark Crow, was the medicine god's guide. They had faced life and death together, traveled across the 9 heavens and 10 earths, journeyed through the 9 worlds, entered the burial grounds, and stepped onto the ancient lands. Along the way, they tasted 100 herbs, refined 10,000 pills, and finally established the rules of the apothecary Tao for humanity, summarizing all the pill refinement techniques and standards. 4 generations. There has been a saying, if there were no medicine god, there would be no apothecary Tao for humanity, and perhaps no standards for apothecaries among the myriad races. It can be said that the medicine god was not only the founder of the human apothecary Tao, but also the founder for the myriad races. Of course, the world only knew the medicine god, but they did not know about him. Overlooking Qiye, who was hidden behind the scenes. Later generations also did not know that when the medicine god created the medicine god canon that year, it was not just the medicine god, but also the unknown Dark Crow. Regarding the medicine god's way of pill refinement and the pill techniques he passed down to this day, in reality, only Qiye knew the truth, the essence of the medicine god's pill Tao was not passed down. What circulated in the world was only the medicine god canon, which was merely the standard for pill refinement and the complete apothecary system. Naturally, these things became the standards for apothecaries in later generations. In fact, the essence of the medicine god was not passed down. At that time, Qiye knew this was deliberately done by the medicine god. What was even more frustrating was that during one period, his memory wipe encountered a problem, and he couldn't find the memories related to the medicine god canon until now. Yet Qiye knew there was still a sliver of hope, and that was this toad, which was the myriad furnace god they had nurtured back then. In the past, this toad was the place where the medicine god canon of the Dark Crow and the medicine god was sealed. At the time, the medicine god had jokingly called this toad his essence. Who would have thought that this toad was his true inheritance? His Tao lineage. But unexpectedly, the toad escaped, rendering the joke ineffective later on. In later eras, Qiye still searched for the myriad furnace god, still wanting to retrieve the medicine god canon, but unfortunately, he never found it. However, in this life, after reclaiming his body, Qiye finally found the myriad furnace god, and consequently found the medicine god canon. Holding the myriad furnace god, which looked like a toad, Qiye laughed and said, "Mad apothecary, in this life, I'm afraid I'll have to overshadow your glory." Saying this, he burst into laughter, but after laughing for a while, he became melancholy, subdued. These were deeply memorable moments. He had drifted for 1,000,000 years, living amidst blood and slaughter, from the desolate era until now. He was pursued, had his roots severed, counterattacked his enemies, calculated the world, where it was either you die or I perish. In the era of the ancient Ming, there was even blood rain flooding the sky. In the slaughter of all gods, the destruction of myriad immortals, this was a difficult period for him. Then came the era of the emperors. This was the time for him to counterattack the immortals and devils, a time of rising and falling. He cultivated a generation of sages, and even nurtured immortal emperors. He exhausted countless efforts and profound resources, all for the day he could break the immortal demon lair. But the memory of the medicine god's era, to him as the Dark Crow, was the purest time in the world, a time of fervent learning, a time of tasting 100 herbs and refining 10,000 pills. In that era, both he and the medicine god were exploring the path of pill refinement, laying the foundation for humanity and the 9 worlds. Finally, Qiye sighed, retracted his thoughts, picked up the toad, and shouted, "Open up." The moment the toad landed, it transformed into a massive precious furnace. The toad crouched on the ground, opening its huge mouth, and spitting out heaven and earth essence, Chu Thien Tin Kai. A wave of heat rushed forward, causing Qiye to close his eyes. He sniffed the medicinal aroma from the precious furnace, and murmured, "Myriad furnace god. Worthy of being the eternal number 1 furnace. It wasn't a waste that I hunted it across the 9 worlds. Back then, exhausting heaven and earth treasures to nurture it. With this furnace in hand, refining pills that defy the heavens and change fate is exceedingly simple. The myriad furnace god, the world has likely never heard of this furnace god. Only Qiye truly understood all the mysteries of this furnace in the current age. This furnace was not just for refining pills. When combined with the medicine god Canon's supreme apothecary Tao, it would possess heaven-shaking power, capable of defying the heavens and changing fate. The myriad furnace god, in Qiye's eyes, was the #1 furnace for all ages. It differed from other furnace gods. Other furnace gods, born from a specific area of the earth, basically would not move later on, remaining in that place. Only able to absorb the heaven and earth essence there to nurture their furnace fire. But this myriad furnace god could move on its own like a toad, traveling across the world. Moreover, it could actively seek out and consume fire seeds and ingest spirit pills and medicinal herbs. The longer it lived, the more precious the things it consumed. Ordinary fire, normal spirit pills, and herbs would not even catch its eye. Precisely because of this, the myriad furnace god was both an unparalleled furnace fire and a trove of medicinal ingredients. At the same time, the myriad furnace god's speed was extremely fast. No one throughout the ages has ever caught it. In fact, even if people encountered it, they wouldn't pay it any mind. An ordinary-looking toad sitting on the ground, no one would notice it. Finally, Qiye put away the toad, sat down cross-legged on the ground, and continued his cultivation. When the cleansing incense ancient sect returned victorious, news finally reached other sections. In a short period, countless great sects, kingdoms, ancient schools, and hidden factions roared in fury. The annihilation of their forces on this trip to Demon Back Ridge was a great humiliation for these renowned powers that had dominated for countless years. In the ancient kingdom of Qiye, within an ancient palace, Heavenly Son Qiye, who was enveloped in azure aura, was reporting to the sovereign about the trip to Demon Back Ridge. The sovereign seated high above was a sacred emperor whose imperial aura surged in and out, causing people to tremble. Even an ancient saint would turn pale with fear upon encountering him. The cleansing incense ancient sect. The sovereign seated high above spoke, his voice carrying an immense power, saying deeply, 100-year-old worm can still be unyielding. Immortal Emperor Ming Ren is indeed the founder of the Age of Emperors. Even after such a long decline, they still possess such methods. Heavenly Son Qiye below remained silent, merely listening. No rush to settle scores with the cleansing incense ancient sect. Finally, the sovereign seated high above said, we should wait. There will surely be others who go to trouble the cleansing incense ancient sect. We will observe from the sidelines. Although you did not obtain the divine artifact this time, it is not a major issue. Our ancient kingdom does not lack treasures. You should temporarily focus on your cultivation. In this lifetime, if you can shoulder the heaven's mandate, our ancient kingdom will have a third immortal emperor. Heavenly Son Qiye acknowledged this and finally left. My hour. In the southern heaven upper kingdom, an old man cried out tragically upon receiving the news. Despite being a powerful expert, he nearly fainted. Finally, the old man prepared to erupt, saying with hatred, if this revenge is not taken, my southern heaven aristocratic family vows not to be human. This old man entered the imperial city of the southern heaven upper kingdom and sought out the sovereign, begging him to dispatch troops to annihilate the cleansing incense ancient sect and avenge his son, Nan Tianhao. To the old man's plea, the high and mighty sovereign said, the cleansing incense ancient sect is located within the territory of the sacred jewel upper kingdom. The Holy Heaven sect does not wish for us to dispatch troops within their borders. The Holy Heaven sect's old ancestor is still alive and cannot be easily offended. I will send an envoy to contact the Holy Heaven sect. As for the culprit who killed Hauer, we absolutely will not let him go. Wait until my imperial son emerges from seclusion, and I will have him make a trip to avenge Hauer. Regarding the sovereign's decision, although the old man was still unwilling, he could only accept it. Meanwhile, in the sacred jewel upper kingdom, the sacred jewel human emperor, hearing the report from Dao Child Xingtian, sat high on his dragon throne. His face was gloomy, and he finally said, "An emperor item. It's an emperor item again." That year, the cleansing incense ancient sect used the immortal emperor's will to suppress him. For an unparalleled sovereign like him, the humiliation was great. But he could do nothing. Even someone as powerful as him was not confident in easily confronting an emperor item, unless he had no other choice. The old ancestor has not yet emerged. We must temporarily endure this anger. Finally, the sacred jewel human emperor said deeply, "It's a good thing that you heard the news and could advance and retreat alongside Heavenly Son Qing. Xian. You temporarily do not need to concern yourself with the cleansing incense ancient sect. I will send you as an envoy to the ancient kingdom of Qing Xian to see if an alliance can be formed. If we can ally with the ancient kingdom of Qing Xian, we will have nothing to fear in the central region. Humph, even if the 9 Holy Demon Gate wants to protect the cleansing incense ancient sect, they will be seeking their own demise." Speaking of this, his eyes flashed with surging killing intent. "My son." In the Jiangsu aristocratic family, someone cried out with an incredibly mournful sound. After receiving the news, the Jiangsu aristocratic family was enveloped in grief. The Jiangsu aristocratic family lost not only Marquis Jiangsu but also the fierce strongman Jiangsu Tai, along with over 1,000 elite forces. For the entire Jiangsu aristocratic family, this loss was too heavy. Especially with the destruction of the younger generation. The Jiangsu aristocratic family would find it difficult to recover its vitality now. Cleansing incense ancient sect, one day, my Jiangsu aristocratic family will annihilate all of you. Ultimately, the patriarch of the Jiangsu aristocratic family said with hatred. Today, the Jiangsu aristocratic family's successor, Marquis Jiangsu, died at the hands of a disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect, causing the Jiangsu aristocratic family to gnash their teeth, wishing they could exterminate the cleansing incense ancient sect. In the cleansing incense ancient sect, Qiye was sitting in his room. His fate palace was open, with 2 fate palaces floating above his head, one large, one small. The large one was the primary fate palace, and the small one was the secondary fate palace. The secondary fate palace was the new fate palace that Qiye had opened. During the accumulation palace realm grand completion, Qiye successfully opened the second fate palace. At this time, in Qiye's primary palace, his true fate was closed, absorbing the heaven and earth essence. The Kuanpeng incessantly refined the heaven and earth essence to construct the Tao foundation. And at this moment, Qiye's longevity will rotated. His blood qi poured into it like a river into the sea, cycle after cycle, refining the blood qi and condensing it into longevity blood, storing it within the longevity wheel. Qiye had now reached the robust longevity realm, Trang Tho Can. In fact, he had entered this realm while still in Demon Back Ridge. And currently, he was approaching the second stage of the robust longevity realm. The robust longevity realm has a total of 3 stages, from lowest to highest: nourishing treasures, Tua Bao, gathering essence, Tu Hoa, and nurturing the longevity wheel, Qiye Tho Wan. In the nourishing treasures stage, one refines their blood qi into a longevity treasure. Any cultivator who reaches this realm must possess their own longevity treasure, whether inherited or refined from their own life ring. A cultivator reaching this stage, no matter their background, must possess a longevity treasure belonging to them. They might not have had one before, but they cannot go without one after reaching this realm. Otherwise, without the aid of a longevity treasure, the refinement of longevity blood would be much slower than others. Therefore, cultivators from smaller sects, in unavoidable circumstances, could only use the cheapest life ring to refine a longevity treasure, waiting for the day they become strong enough to replace the life ring. At least, replacing a life ring costs less than replacing true fate qi. Qiye had long possessed a longevity treasure, his yin and yang blood qi. In fact, he already had it even before entering the nourishing treasure stage. Qiye had previously refined the yin and yang blood qi many times. Thus, Qiye easily passed the nourishing treasure stage. The gathering essence stage is about absorbing heaven and earth essence, strengthening one's essence and blood qi, and then refining it into longevity blood. For cultivators, neither blood qi nor heaven and earth essence is the ultimate existence, longevity blood is the ultimate existence. Longevity blood not only contains the essence of one's lifespan, but also the refined heaven and earth essence. There is a saying among cultivators, if you exhaust the last drop of longevity blood, it means you are very close to death. The Moon Pass Yang Wheel. Art is very powerful in refining longevity blood. With the assistance of the yin and yang blood C, Qiye's refinement of longevity blood was very easy. After continuous refinement, Qiye's longevity blood was abundant, hidden within his longevity wheel. Nurturing the longevity wheel is the process where the longevity treasure nourishes the body, and also includes the process of nurturing the longevity wheel. Cultivators who cultivate to this stage will increase their longevity and extend their lifespan, falling within the scope of a cultivator transcending the mortal realm. In nurturing the longevity wheel, the longevity treasure will extend lifespan. At this time, the longevity wheel will continuously generate life rings, vong tuoi. One life ring signifies 1 year of lifespan. When a person's longevity wheel generates 1,000 life rings, it means nurturing the longevity wheel has reached grand completion, and also signifies the robust longevity realm grand completion, allowing one to step into the next level, the true fate realm. Once the robust longevity realm reaches grand completion, it means one has obtained 1,000 years of lifespan. More precisely, this is the standard principle. Even if your cultivation does not advance half a step afterward, you can live a full 1,000 years. Of course, accidental death or being killed is not included. In fact, very few people who achieve robust longevity realm grand completion can live for 1,000 years, as they might encounter enemies or enter perilous places one day. The rapid rotation of the life rings also signifies an increase of 1 year of lifespan for Qiye. After an unknown period, Qiye stopped pouring the yin and yang blood C into the longevity wheel. During this process, he opened his secondary fate palace, a completely new secondary fate palace. In this secondary palace, one can see the fountain of life flowing rapidly, the tree of life glowing brightly, and the flame of life burning fiercely. However, the true fate is absent in this secondary fate palace. This is the biggest difference between the primary palace and the secondary palace. The position where the true fate should be is currently occupied by a Dao bone. This Dao bone was the Dao bone of Little Hu Tu Ho Du, which Qiye brought out of Demon Back Ridge. At this time, Qiye activated the fountain of life, urged the tree of life, and used the water of life and life force to cleanse this Dao bone. The Dao bone became even brighter. After countless refinements, one could faintly see hair-thin laws within the Dao bone. These hair-thin laws formed a cocoon, as if a life was being nurtured within the cocoon. A cultivator possessing a primary fate palace and a secondary fate palace has their true fate in the primary palace. Simultaneously, the true fate qi is also in the primary palace, primarily handling the true fate's offense and defense. As for precious artifacts, they are located in the secondary palace. This is the difference between true fate qi and fate qi. But there are different types of precious artifacts. For example, those that are not refined and nurtured, and those that are refined and nurtured. Precious artifacts that are not refined and nurtured are significantly different. They are either inherited from elders or were refined by the cultivator but are no longer used for nurturing. These precious artifacts will not continue to advance in rank. Although the cultivator can use them at any time, their level remains unchanged. There is another type of precious artifact within the Fate Palace. One can store as many as one is capable of. In reality, the Fate Palace is a massive space. As long as you are powerful enough, you can even store the heavens and earth within it. However, nurturing a precious artifact is different. One Fate Palace can only nurture one precious artifact. During this time, the furnace of life and the fountain of life only refine and pour their energy into that specific precious artifact. This process signifies that each Fate Palace only nurtures one precious artifact. A precious artifact nurtured by the Fate Palace will advance along with the cultivator's progress. At the same time, its power is very subtle and will change according to the cultivation method used for its refinement. For a cultivator, utilizing the furnace of life or the pillar of life within the Fate Palace to refine a precious artifact requires two types of materials, one is Grand Dao precious metal, and the other is Celestial Beast Dao bones. There is a significant difference between Grand Dao precious metal and Celestial Beast Dao bones. Grand Dao precious metal refined into a precious artifact has no limit on its level. As long as you are powerful enough, a block of Grand Dao precious metal can even be refined into an Immortal Emperor precious artifact. However, Celestial Beast Dao bones are different. When using a Dao bone from a Celestial Beast, the level of the Celestial Beast determines the maximum level your refined precious artifact can reach. It will not surpass the level of that Celestial Beast. Despite this, many cultivators still prefer using Celestial Beast Dao bones as materials to refine precious artifacts. The reason is simple: a precious artifact refined from a Celestial Beast Dao bone will possess the Celestial Beast's Dao might and Dao form. For instance, refining a precious artifact using the Dao bone of the Heavenly Mad Lion Emperor would mean the artifact not only possesses the power from the user's cultivation method but also the divine might of the Heavenly Mad Lion Emperor. Refining a precious artifact with Grand Dao precious metal means unlimited potential, but its initial power is far inferior to that of a Celestial Beast Dao Bone artifact. The Celestial Beast Dao Bone artifact, however, boasts great initial power. Qiye used the water of life from the fountain of life and life force to continuously pour into little Hutu's Dao Bone. To Qiye, this was not just the simple refinement of a Dao Bone precious artifact. Little Hutu held extraordinary significance for him. Little Hutu could be said to have possessed an innate and singular talent, even peerless in the world. However, its life force was very weak in its infancy, requiring continuous transformation. It was precisely because of this that Qiye, after capturing it and bringing it back to the ancient lands, entrusted Immortal Emperor Mingren to nurture this little beast in the western part of Demon Back Ridge, a restricted area, to serve as Little Hutu's growing place. It was the most suitable place for Little Hutu to grow. Given enough time, Little Hutu would one day become an existence that even the gods feared. In fact, several tens of thousands of years ago, Little Hutu had already become terrifyingly powerful. But during the 30 to 40,000 years he was in slumber, an unexpected event occurred: Little Hutu was killed. To Qiye, this was a provocation of his authority, a matter he would settle with the perpetrator sooner or later. As Qiye used the water of life from the fountain of life and life force to pour into the Dao bone, after an unknown period, an aura faintly emerged from the Dao bone. This finally allowed Qiye to breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed there was still hope. After an unknown period, Qiye stood up. Outside the door were Li Xuangan and Su Yonghuang. Li Xuangan stood quietly, while Su Yonghuang was completely different from Li Xuangan, elegant, noble, and possessing unparalleled imperial bearing. Seeing Qiye finish his cultivation, Li Xuangan silently withdrew. Su Yonghuang then entered. Disciple. You must know that there are differences in status between master and disciple. Sitting in her own seat, Su Yonghuang looked at Qiye and said, as a disciple, you cannot summon your master. Do you understand? I won't fuss over it this time. Su Yonghuang originated from the Su family, possessing the bloodline of Immortal Emperor Mingren. She was a noble descendant, her elegance and grace were natural, not feigned or cultivated postnatally, but inherent. Her bloodline carried a noble temperament. Don't forget, we are not true master and disciple. Qiye smiled calmly and said, as a master, you haven't taught me any Dao or skills. Can you really be called a master? Brat, once a teacher, forever a father. Su Yonghuang was annoyed and glared at Qiye. Her usually composed demeanor now revealing a youthful, feminine posture was truly captivating. Forever a father? Qiye laughed, and said leisurely. Forever a father, then you'd have to be a man. Hearing this, Su Yonghuang's face flushed red. She glared at Qiye, her 7 parts nobility and 3 parts playful beauty were truly enchanting. Do you still remember the Su family oath? Li Qiye withdrew his smile, looking at Su Yonghuang solemnly, and finally spoke slowly. Li Qiye's words shook Su Yonghuang's mind. She composed her smile, her gaze becoming serious as she looked at Li Qiye, and said, "Of course. Why do you ask?" The Su family oath was related to a supreme immortal body art. Only the successor of each generation knew about it. Hearing Li Qiye ask this, she was shaken. "I want you to swear an oath even stricter than the Su family oath. Swear on your true fate." At this moment, Li Qiye said deeply. "Why?" Su Yonghuang's face changed now. Swearing on one's true fate was the most serious oath for any cultivator. Once one swears on their true fate, that oath will accompany them for life. The solar body, a supreme immortal body art. Li Qiye slowly said, each word strong and powerful. When Su Yonghuang heard, solar body, a supreme immortal body art, she pondered deeply, not acting out of momentary impulse. Su Yonghuang was a genius of the Su family, born with the Crimson Phoenix sacred body. After careful consideration and planning, he decided to transmit the supreme immortal body art to Su Yonghuang. Otherwise, Su Yonghuang's talent would be wasted. Impossible, impossible. At this time, Su Yonghuang stared intensely at Li Qiye. Her noble and composed aura faltered, and she instantly stood up, saying with disbelief, "This is an immortal body art, peerless in the world. How could you possess it?" Su Yonghuang cultivated a heaven-defying body supreme immortal body art. This was a renowned body art of the time, and of course, she understood how heaven-defying it was. Their ancestors once said that among heaven-defying body arts, no body art surpassed the one inherited by the Su family. It could be said that the Su family's body art was unparalleled among heaven-defying body arts. Now Li Qiye mentioned the solar body supreme immortal body art. This shook Su Yonghuang. Having cultivated a heaven-defying body art, she naturally knew what kind of physique this was. No one else can. Li Qiye said calmly. "But, I am Li Qiye." A simple sentence, yet it carried an unmatched confidence. Su Yonghuang frowned slightly, looking at Li Qiye. Li Qiye's single confident sentence shook the maiden's heart. For a moment, her breathing quickened, and her ample bosom rose and fell. "Will you swear the oath or not?" Li Qiye said with a calm demeanor. "The decision is in your hands." Finally, Su Yonghuang managed to steady her thoughts with difficulty. She took a deep breath, looked at Li Qiye for a long time, and finally said deeply, "I will swear it." A true fate oath was no joke, but she was certain of the significance of the solar body supreme immortal body art. After Su Yonghuang swore the true fate oath, Li Qiye smiled and said, "You must listen carefully. I hope that as a successor of the Su family, if you make me repeat it again, it will be disappointing." "Understood, master." He drew out the word master, Su Fu, carrying 3 parts teasing. Li Qiye's words made Su Yonghuang's face flush. She glared at Li Qiye, her expression charmingly seductive. Li Qiye imparted the ultimate yin and yang profound truth of the character Yang, Jung, to Su Yonghuang. This character, Yang, could evolve into 2 types of supreme immortal body arts, the solar body and the heaven-defying body. Su Yonghuang cultivated the heaven-defying body art. Upon immediately accessing the solar body supreme immortal body art, she was instantly shaken. For a moment, she couldn't believe it. At this time, Su Yonghuang realized that the supreme immortal body art Li Qiye transmitted to her and the supreme immortal body art she practiced shared the same origin, and in fact, complemented each other. They were 2 flowers blossoming from the same branch, bearing 2 different fruits. At this moment, Su Yonghuang understood why Li Qiye said that practicing the solar body supreme immortal body art and her heaven-defying body supreme immortal body art were not in conflict. Since these 2 supreme immortal body arts shared the same origin, root, and branch, how could they conflict? Su Yonghuang was utterly stunned. At this time, she finally knew the origin of this supreme immortal body art, the number 1 immortal body art in the world, peerless and incomparable to any other technique. How did you obtain this immortal body art?" Even now, Su Yonghuang still could not believe it. Why did this young man before her, no, this disciple before her, possess such a technique? Qiye smiled leisurely and said, "Don't forget, the immortal emperor reported to me in a dream. And instructed me in the dream." Saying this, he burst into laughter. These words made Su Yonghuang glare angrily at Qiye. It was fundamentally impossible. Although people like Gutiesho believed in the story of the dream instruction, Su Yonghuang did not believe this reason. But if it wasn't a dream instruction, how else could it be explained? Having received the instruction from Qiye, Su Yonghuang stood up and left. She had to go back to comprehend this supreme immortal body art. Just as Qiye had said earlier, she possessed the innate Crimson Phoenix sacred body. Cultivating the solar immortal body was the most suitable for her. Cultivating this supreme immortal body art would grant her the greatest breakthrough. Disciple. After reaching the door, Su Yonghuang turned back. She looked at Qiye with 3 parts playfulness, 1 part charm, and 6 parts composure, smiling as she said, "Even if you transmit the supreme immortal body art to me, it still cannot change the fact that you are my disciple. Disciple, in the future, you should properly show filial respect to your master. Any peerless cultivation method or invincible treasure must be offered to your master. Do you understand?" Saying this, she turned and left. Her clear, bell-like laughter drifted in from the door, sounding particularly pleasant to the ear. Qiye smiled. He then called Li Xuangan in. He took out the wooden sword obtained in Demon Back Ridge and handed it to Li Xuangan, smiling as he said, "They all say you are my sword attendant, Kim Ti. If you don't carry a sword, how can you be called a sword follower? Find a good scabbard and wear it. It is not only my sword, but also yours." Li Xuangan felt annoyed after hearing this. She glared at him. Her captivating, country-toppling beauty, with every frown and smile, was alluring. She took the wooden sword into her hand, carefully examined it, and asked, "What is this sword called?" This sword was formed from the intertwining of the 6 Tao lotuses water root and the demon putti tree's water root, refined by the heavens and earth, finally becoming a sword. You can call it the demon sword, or you can call it the immortal demon sword, or you can call it the black-white sword, just pick a name casually. Qiye said with a smile. The black-white sword sounds too unpleasant. Li Xuangan said with annoyance. Let's call it the 6 Tao sword. In front of Qiye, she was unconsciously shedding her usual icy expression, showing more of a young maiden's demeanor. Try out its profound mystery. Qiye was noncommittal about the sword's name. Li Xuangan held the 6 Tao sword in her hand. Her blood qi stirred. Black and white light appeared. The light intertwined like the yin and yang taiji, continuously winding and flowing, submerging the heavens and earth. The sword, held in Li Xuanyan's hand, produced an sound. As the small sound appeared, Li Xuanyan's body emitted boundless, pure immortal light. The 6 Tao sword's white radiance was like a fish finding water, instantly merging with Li Xuangan. However, the black light was extremely wary of Li Xuanyan's immortal body. But the immortal light instantly made the black light subdued, shaking Li Xuanyan's entire body. At this time, she felt that her flawless body was being pushed to its limits, immune to all laws. At the same time, as the immortal body absorbed the black light, it instantly allowed her to shoulder yin and yang, command the cosmos, and possess tremendous power. Very good. This sword is very suitable for you. Qiye said with a smile. With this sword by your side, it can greatly nourish your physique. Use it to strengthen your own blood qi. That is what will benefit you. It will make your cultivation advance rapidly without effort. But, half of this sword is formed from the demon putti tree's water root. It contains demonic energy. Won't it backlash against my flawless body? Li Xuangan said worriedly. The 6 Tao lotus and her flawless body complemented each other. But the demon putti tree was naturally antagonistic to her. You underestimate the body art I transmitted to you. Qiye smiled and shook his head, saying, compared to your body art, what does the demon putti tree count as? Do you remember that saying? The cosmos is like a hen's egg. When chaos first began, the grand initial, Taichu, evolved the 9 words, birth the 9 treasures, and the 9 treasures illuminate the 9 scriptures. Li Xuangan carefully recited the incantation. Li Qiye had immense trust in those close to him. Li Xuangan had also passed the test of loyalty to him. The secret of the body art was a matter Li Xuangan kept strictly confidential. Li Xuangan kept this secret completely sealed. Except for herself, she would absolutely not tell anyone else. My 9 scriptures are parallel with the heavens and earth, eternally existing from ancient times to the present. How can the demon Beauty tree be compared to the body art? Its schemes are insignificant. Li Qiye smiled, shook his head, and said to Li Xuangan, "You should have confidence in your flawless body. It can definitely suppress it. On the contrary, the demon Beauty tree's demonic nature will be refined by your flawless body, and your cultivation will increase." Hearing Li Qiye's words, Li Xuangan finally relaxed. Now that she was cultivating the supreme immortal body art, things were going very smoothly. She was increasingly displaying the power of her flawless body. This sword is not just a sword. Li Qiye looked at Li Xuangan and said, "It was formed from the intertwining water roots of the 6 Tao lotus and the demon Beauty tree. They date back to an extremely ancient era. They contain the grand Tao of the 6 Tao lotus and the demon Beauty tree, embodying the profound truths of the heavens and earth. The heavens and earth refined them into a sword. They have transcended the confines of the grand Tao of the 6 Tao lotus and the demon Beauty tree. In fact, it contains the profound mysteries of the heavenly ways. This sword provides a glimpse into the heavenly Tao. Comprehend it well. Perhaps one day you will create your own heavenly Tao." Hearing Li Qiye's words, Li Xuangan was moved. Heavenly Tao. This was the highest existence she knew. Once the heavenly Tao reached grand completion, it meant the potential to achieve immortal emperor status in the future, shouldering the heavens mandate. "What about you?" Li Xuangan recovered her senses. She understood that the value of the 6 Tao sword was peerless, perhaps even rivaling an immortal emperor precious artifact. It was not just a weapon but also contained the grand Tao of the heavens and earth. "I've comprehended it for some time. Everyone has different fortuitous encounters. Their comprehension will also differ. Comprehend it well. If I need it, I will ask you for it," Li Qiye said. He had obtained the 6 Tao sword, analyzed its profound mysteries, and sought enlightenment. Although he possessed a mortal fate, his experience in cultivation was something ordinary people could not compare with. Thus, by comprehending the 6 Tao sword, he gained insight into a style of swordsmanship. After Li Xuangan left, Li Qiye took out the myriad furnace god and shouted, "Activate." The toad left his hand, landed on the ground, and transformed into the furnace god. The myriad furnace god settled on the ground. The toad opened its big mouth. Li Qiye held the furnace with one hand, urging the furnace fire according to the supreme pill Tao of the medicine god canon. Hoo. As he urged the furnace fire, the fire source surged into the furnace fire and transformed into a medicinal cauldron, Duok Din. But Li Qiye did not stop. He continued to urge the cultivation method. As Li Qiye urged the fire source and flames formed a medicinal cauldron. This situation continued, and during the pill refinement process, one medicinal cauldron formed. The formation of one medicinal cauldron was already unbelievable. Generally, one fire source only transforms into one medicinal cauldron. Only the extremely rare and precious furnace gods, or the furnace gods in the hands of the medicine god, might be able to form 2 or several medicinal cauldrons. But at this moment, another medicinal cauldron formed within the myriad furnace god. This situation did not end. Any apothecary who saw this would be shaken. This was an impossible feat. The fact that it happened in Li Qiye's hands, if any apothecary saw the furnace god's mouth forming another medicinal cauldron, they would surely be dumbfounded. This sight could only belong to a supreme treasure. It would absolutely cause people to covet it, leading to a storm of bloodshed. As time passed, Li Qiye was absorbed in the furnace god. The number of cauldrons he formed increased steadily. He condensed 500 medicinal cauldrons, but then began to feel slightly powerless. This made Qiye understand that his cultivation level was not yet strong enough. His blood qi and heaven and earth essence were insufficient to form more medicinal cauldrons. If someone could see Qiye condensing over 500 fire cauldrons in one go, they would surely be utterly terrified. This was an impossible feat. No one throughout history has ever been able to do this. Of course, this was the unparalleled heaven-defying quality of the myriad furnace god. It had existed since ancient times, having consumed an unknown number of fire seeds. What was more terrifying was that Qiye and the medicine god nurtured it back then. It could be said to have absorbed fire seeds from the 8 directions of the heavens and earth, and the 9 worlds. Spirit herbs and immortal herbs were used to nourish it. It's no exaggeration to say that during the time they nurtured it, there was probably no heavenly treasure or earthly rarity that the myriad furnace god had not consumed, no spirit herb or immortal herb it had not eaten. In fact, the medicine god was considered half-mad back then. Precisely because of this, the dark crow, Qiye, called him the mad apothecary. Temporarily, Qiye had reached his limit for condensing cauldrons, so he temporarily shifted his focus. He stopped condensing cauldrons and began cultivating the fire control technique. Inside the furnace, as Qiye continuously refined, the furnace fire appeared vividly alive. Sometimes it transformed into a swift horse, sometimes into a flying eagle, sometimes into a swimming fish, sometimes into flowing water. For an apothecary, whether refining body paste, essence longevity medicine, or even fate pills, the key lies not only in understanding the principles of pharmacology and the techniques of pill refinement but also in the control of the flame. Controlling the furnace's fire source directly affects the quality of the finished pill. The strength of an apothecary's apothecary Dao hinges on their mastery of the fire control technique. It is difficult for anyone in the world of the apothecary Dao to surpass the level of the medicine god and the dark crow, Qiye, from back then. It can be said that the medicine god canon written by the medicine god back then was the foundation of pill refinement. Both the apothecary Dao and the fire control technique recorded in the medicine god canon owe half their credit to him. Cultivating the medicine god canon again now was merely familiar territory for Qiye. He cultivated the fire control technique and soon reached an unimaginable level of proficiency, where the furnace fire was like a divine spirit. If someone who knew the situation saw Qiye's progress in fire control, they would surely praise him as a peerless genius. Such a person would indeed be a born apothecary. The world, of course, did not know that Qiye's easy achievement was not only due to his present efforts but also his sacrifices over hundreds of thousands of years. Having mastered the fire control technique, Qiye began refining pills. He started by refining a single cauldron, but he chose longevity medicine. There is a saying among apothecaries: refine body paste, distill longevity medicine, and forge fate pills. Among the 3 types of elixirs, body paste is the easiest to refine, longevity medicine is the second, and fate pills are the most difficult, testing the apothecary's skill. Qiye started by refining longevity medicine, but his goal was to refine fate pills. For him, refining longevity medicine was merely practice. Fate pills were his true objective. As Qiye was immersed in pill refinement for several months, one day, a guest suddenly arrived. Furthermore, they came to the cleansing incense ancient sect specifically asking to see Qiye. When the carriage stopped, besides the coachman, 3 people descended from the carriage. One was a peerlessly beautiful woman who could topple kingdoms, and the other 2 wore black robes, their faces covered by black hoods. These 2 people, whose appearances were unclear, helped the woman approach. Thank you for watching. If you found the story interesting and meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.